This looks so good. It's filthy, but now with this lighting, you can see all the sparkles. You can see everything in here. You guys aren't gonna be watching dark videos anymore. I feel like a pro now, but I still don't know what I'm doing. So for those of you that don't know, it was my birthday yesterday. I turned 21, so I'm supposed to be like an adult or something like that now. But my absolute beauty of a girlfriend got me these dope lights. So now the videos will be a little bit better lighting quality. I'm gonna get a new camera. I'm not gonna be rocking the GoPro anymore. So maybe that'll make it a little bit better quality too. I know not that many people watch this channel, but I wanna make some good quality shit. So we're gonna do it. So in today's video, wait, before I even start, what is going on, you guys? And welcome back to the channel. In my last video, if you guys didn't catch that, we started tearing this thing down. And if you guys don't know the reason behind the last video, it's because we've been having a cylinder 1 misfire, only at 2,500 RPM when the AFR is above 14. So it seems like it's a lean misfire on one cylinder. In my past videos, I've done a compression test. I moved injectors around. I pulled the spark plugs out, checked the gap on them. I moved coil packs around, or ignition coils, whatever you want to call them. The compression test was even on all 4 cylinders, and I still could not find the misfire, which sucked. I've been chasing my tail on this thing, but now I started thinking about this radium fuel system that I have, and it is actually the radium parallel fuel plumbing kit. Like, it's an actual kit from Radium, and don't quote me yet, but I think that's what's causing my misfire. I've explained that in detail in a couple of my old videos, so if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can go watch some of the old ones. I'm not gonna explain it again, because I also need to get a lot of other stuff cleaned up on this thing, just small things that bug me on the car. First thing I want to talk about is I decided how I'm going to route this fuel system, and I'll just explain it real quick. So if you guys caught my last video, I would have shown in depth how my fuel system was plumbed. It was basically a feed to the regulator and then 2 feeds out of the regulator, one directly to this rail and one directly to the other rail, and then just a block off cap on the end of the rails. And then it runs a return line off the back of the regulator back to the gas tank. And I want to change that up. So what I'm going to do, and what you guys can do if you have this radium fuel pressure regulator, if you don't understand this, don't worry about it, because I'm going to go over it more when I actually do the install, probably next video, if not the video after that. But I'm going to run a feed directly to the middle here. It's going to go to a Y fitting that tees off, that feeds one line directly to the back of one rail and one line directly to the back of the other rail. And then there's going to be a return off of this rail that goes directly to one of the high pressure in or out ports on the regulator. And then this rail is also going to have a return line that goes back to the other high pressure in or out port on the regulator. Then the third low pressure out only port is gonna have a block off plug in it on the bottom, and then it's gonna return back to the gas tank on that same return line that I had before. Now I know that's probably super confusing, but you guys will understand more in another video when I actually build the fuel line kit. Another thing I caught in my last video was the oil drain line off the turbo that drains back to the head is leaking a little bit. So I wanna get that turbo taken off. I think it's actually the gasket that seals to the turbo on the drain pipe. I put some silicone on it, but it might be leaking a little bit. So I wanna take that turbo all the way off, make sure I clean it up the best I possibly can to make sure it doesn't leak again, and reseal it. Then we got to get this boost gauge taken off here and get the fittings taken off my turbo so that I can route this boost gauge to a spot where it will actually read vacuum, because right now it's just reading compressor housing boost. So even at idle, it reads like 3 PSI boost, and I want it to read vacuum and boost. So we got to fix that. Then the next thing we got to do is get the Mishimoto rad in. But before we do that, let's just get the turbo off. Oh, I got coolant on me. Oh, it went in my shirt. This turbo's sick. On the bottom of my turbo, the hose that was hose clamped to this was pretty chewed up. But I gotta get a light. I think maybe the weld's cracked on the oil drain line.
There's no freaking way.
I don't think it's cracked. I don't know, I can't really tell. Anyways, besides that, first thing I wanna do to this turbo is get this boost pressure sensor setup that I have going on here taken right off. So let's go get a huge wrench. I don't even know what size that is. Is that a 24? Oh, first try, baby. Love it when that happens. Maybe if I whack it, she'll go. Oh, look at that. She's moving. Boost pressure sensor is off. So if you guys didn't see my ETS rotated kit video, I'll explain a little bit how I had this set up. I basically just had like a little purge block here with a female fitting on both ends. So I could thread my 1/8 NPT little fitting in there for the boost controller. And then I could also run my boost sensor right off the turbo. But I don't want to do that anymore. So basically all I'm going to do is take this block off. I'm going to take this fitting off, and then I'm just going to thread that fitting directly into the compressor housing. And then we're going to move this boost sensor to the manifold. So let's get that taken off and swapped over real quick. I got the fitting off now. This little block, I'm gonna keep it just in case I ever need it for something else, but I'm not gonna use it anymore with this setup. Boost gauge is off. Now I can maybe thread this into the bottom of the intake manifold. I think maybe the port where I put the block off plug that came with AOS, this might thread right in there, but I'll have to double check that. But on the turbo, I got this fitting threaded in there now. It looks perfect. Honestly, way more clean than it was before too. Not as much brass covering up this dope powder coat job on this turbo. Like, just look at that. Look at that sparkle. You guys probably won't be able to see this on camera, but the piece that was sussing me out a little bit here, there's a little part of the weld on the left side there that just has a little, it looks like a hairline crack, but it's just a mark from the belt sander, I think, when we built this drain line. And I don't see any oil around that area. Most of the oil looked like it was coming from right here and just sweating down. So I'm pretty sure it was just a hose clamp that I way over tightened onto this drain line. So I'm not going to take this off the turbo because then I'll have to get a new gasket and I'll have to re-silicone it. So I'm just going to leave it how it is. And I'll show you guys what the hose looks like in the engine bay real quick. This is the drain hose right here. I took all the heat sleeving off of it, and you can see that the gear clamp actually ate through the hose a little bit in spots. Yeah, like it literally ate through the hose. There's a tip for you guys. You don't need to crank the shit out of hose clamps. Just get them snug where the hose doesn't move. I have a tendency of over tightening them, but it's fine. I'll just put new hose on there. I have extra ones anyways. And that hose literally just runs straight down there right to the drain port on the head. The other thing with this boost sensor, and I'm gonna need to figure this out once I get the manifold on, but I have this wire run perfectly to length to fit right there on the turbo. And now it's gonna need to go to about right here is where I'm guessing, on the bottom of the manifold. So I'm gonna try and maybe pull this out from in behind my dash a little bit. If not, I can maybe de-pin this connector and then extend the wires and repin them, or just cut it and solder it, which I don't really wanna do because then it's gonna change the resistance of the wires, which I don't wanna do because then it's gonna give a not accurate reading. So we'll see, I'll have to figure that out in a bit. Next thing I'm gonna do, just so these rad hoses aren't collecting dust and getting dust into the coolant passages, I'm gonna get the new Mishimoto rad in. I'm not gonna fill it with coolant today, but let's hope it doesn't leak this time. For those of you that didn't catch the first start video when I explained what happened with this thing, I'll put a link up top to it. But basically, I'll show real quick. There's a hole in that weld, and she was pissing coolant. So this one's garbage. I don't know, I might take it to a rad shop and get them to pull off the top tank and then maybe re-weld it. I'm not sure. If anybody would be interested in buying this rad after I fix it, let me know. I'm gonna have a fresh one in there, so I probably won't need it. I might keep it for a future build. I don't know yet. We'll see. Ah, that's sharp. Rad number 2, let's go. And we got another air freshener. Sick. Fresh. All right, let's swap the fans over. Honestly, I already have a video on how to install this rad, so I'll put a link up top here to that video, and let's just rip through this. My hoodlights just went up my butthole. I just found my misfire, and it has nothing to do with anything I just took apart. That is just the best feeling in the world. So I don't know if I'm the only one that does this, but you know when you're working on your car and you're just kind of fiddling around with stuff, just kind of like moving your hands all over, just like looking at different connectors, just looking at hoses, how you can make things better. And I just so happened to be like, oh, I never had this injector harness this exposed when I had the fuel rail on there. So I'm like, I only looked at the cob side of the harness, not the factory side of the harness. So I was like, you know what? I'll unplug this, maybe look at the pins. The pins are maybe messed up or something on cylinder 1. Because like I said before, that is the only cylinder that's misfiring. None of the other ones are misfiring, and it was only at 2,500 RPM. It made no sense whatsoever, but now it makes complete sense. The 2,500 RPM thing still definitely does not make any sense, but this is definitely my misfire. So I finally decided to look at the harness, and I was about to unplug the cob side of this harness, this little pigtail they make here. And then I'm like, oh, my connector's busted, whatever, classic. That's what happens after 200,000 kilometers of being unplugged constantly. I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take off this tape and then possibly re-lume this because I kind of did a crappy job on this one. It doesn't look that good in my opinion. And then I turn the connector over. And if you look at that, it's not focused very well, but how the hell did I miss that? The signal positive wire for the cylinder 1 injector is all frayed to shit and maybe has 3 or 4 pieces of copper there making contact with the pin. So I'm gonna get this harness pulled back and give you guys a better look at it. Okay, I'm gonna have to eat my words here a little bit. This one's definitely my bad. I've been chasing my own tail this entire time and it was a self-inflicted issue. To give you guys a better look at it, here's the injector harness and you can see there's like 2 wires holding on there. And this is for cylinder 1, conveniently the one that is misfiring. Oh my God, I can't get over this right now. I'm sure you guys can like see the pain in my face. Son of a bitch. So when I built this harness, I accidentally cut these wires when I was cutting them out of the original loom. So I ended up having to cut and solder them. In this one, I put the heat shrink right up to the connector thinking that was a good idea. But now I realize that if you heat shrink right up to the most like volatile part of the connector, right at the end of the wire, that heat shrink is gonna get really, really stiff. And since it was so stiff right at where the wire goes into the connector, every time this connector was rattling back and forth, that heat shrink was just stressing the shit out of the wire. So eventually it just frayed it right out. So this solder is still good down here because you have lots of wire, lots of flex, but this heat shrink with the solder was dumb because I put it way too close to the connector. So that is 100% my misfire. I don't even know if that radium kit causes a misfire now. That was just something that was sussing me out. And I really, really like the look of the radium parallel feed kit because it's only 2 lines you have to run in the engine bay and it's super, super clean. So honestly, I don't even want to do anything else in this video. I guess I should stop being so hard on myself because I did take this all apart for a reason and I'll show you guys real quick. So on my radium TGV deletes, there's no way the camera is going to pick this up, but there is actually a hairline crack right on the front of the housing, right where it meets the flat surface. So technically I didn't take this part for no reason. I got to send these back to Radium and get these warrantied. So it's definitely going to be a couple weeks before I get this thing back together because it's going to take a while to get these from the States. And I got to ship them back before they send me a new set. So I can imagine it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks before I get a new set of these. Honestly, there's nothing I can really do about this now. Let's just rip this out of there. Boom, just like that. Oh, so you're trying to tell me that my Subaru's been clapped this whole time because of one little tiny mistake that I missed for like 2 months. First, I dropped my car on a jack stand last video. Now I find a stupid injector wire that I missed. I'm just getting absolutely bent over backwards lately. But the good news is we got the rat in. I'm gonna have to switch this with the factory cap because I'm not sure if this has a vent valve and a pressure valve on it. And I know the factory one does that sits on the expansion tank. And with the expansion tank, you have to use the factory cap that sits on the expansion tank on your radiator so that it relieves air pressure into your overflow. That has nothing to do with this video, but just a Subaru tip for the day. If you delete your expansion tank, you have to do that. So yeah, sick. Rad's in, no coolant in it. I'm not even gonna put any coolant in it until I get it 100% together. And honestly, I think that's probably where I'm gonna end this video. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my fuel system now. I might still switch it up to having the regulator on the return side because I feel like that's just a better setup. It is gonna make the engine bay more messy, but I feel like that's more direct fuel flow to the rails than this radium kit. But I don't know, we'll see. I might just reuse the same kit and see if that actually was my problem. I mean, I guarantee that was my problem, but I'm just gonna stop rambling. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'm pumped. I finally found the misfire. I'm also disappointed that it took me this long for something that simple, but that's what happens when you never give up. You find it's always the simplest thing in the end. So yeah, peace out, you guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you weren't laughing at me too much in this video for my stupid mistake. I'll catch you guys in the next one.